Welcome to my 16.3 coaching session review and development plan. My aim and objectives of my session was to make sure that everyone is involved during the majority of the session and the time given, to work on 100-metre relay sprints and to improve their technique of the baton. And my objectives were to make sure that all children were getting the concept of the session and fully understanding the technique, to make sure that all the children were engaged and listening throughout the whole session, and that they enjoyed the session as well as learning from it. I did a risk assessment to make sure that all the possible people at risk and the controls in place were then dealt with. And this is my session. This was my warm-up. My main activity 1, main activity 2, the condition game, the cool down, and now onto the review. So for my review, I did a SWOT analysis for the planning and delivery of my session. So I found that my strengths were to have a different type of activity. In the planning, I plan to do different types of activities based upon the same topic. Adaptations and progressions to make sure that if the children were finding it hard, then I could make it easier, and if they weren't, then I could make it harder. Or if somebody was struggling with one aspect, I'd slightly alter it to make sure that they could understand the concept. Organisation, I felt, was key, because when the children came over, we were all ready to go. We'd already set up, and all of our cones were in the right place, and balls were ready, and batons were ready. We didn't have to run around finding all the equipment. So we felt that organisation was really good. With the delivery, I felt I had good communication and demonstration, so I could get across my point clearly, and we demonstrated the baton handoff and just the simple relay. We got involved as well, and I managed to communicate well with the group. They all understood me and all were happy to ask me questions all the time. We managed to organise the group as soon as they came out onto the field, because as a whole team we managed to split them into different groups, and then once we got back to our area, I then split them into different groups of about 5. So we had the control then we split the group in 2, so then we had the control between the 2 of us. There were good progressions in the delivery, because every main session got slightly harder. Questions were being asked throughout, and I made sure that there were answers given to. And adaptations were good again, and effective grouping, because the groups didn't not get on, and I shuffled groups constantly to make sure that they weren't with their friends, and then they didn't take part. And other than that, it was really good. Weaknesses in the planning, we planned our time. I planned my timing of the activities, but we didn't have enough activities to fill the time slot, so we had to adapt and make sure that we had enough activities, so we had to change a few things during the delivery of the session. We didn't really have a range of activities, so we had a range of activities for the relay race, but we should have had a range of different, so instead of just relay, we should have had maybe sprinting or hurdles or something else involved, but we didn't plan that, so maybe that's one thing to do for next time. And then, as it says again, only one event was practiced. For the delivery, the children needed more encouragement, so they weren't really, some of them were more quiet than others, and some of them were a bit more difficult. So one child had to sit out for a bit because he wasn't really listening to me. So some of them need encouragement to keep going and to do well, and some of them need encouragement to calm down and not be too overexcited and cause tension within the group. When someone did it right, maybe I should have praised them more to make them feel like they'd done it right. So another weakness is to alter the technique guidance. So if they were finding it hard, then we could have altered it to make sure that they don't said it in another way or demonstrated differently to make sure that they all got it, and encourage them to speak up if they didn't. And the time control, again, we didn't think about how much timing we should have in each we just estimated. We should have really properly checked and then changed the drills accordingly. For opportunities, I could have taken a first aid course, so that if any injuries did occur, I could have helped out there instantly. I could also have monitored athletics coaches previously, and put into practice what they'd done and make sure I'd reviewed it. I could have also volunteered in athletic events for officiating for local clubs or for big events, so that I could get the confidence of speaking in front of others, or knowing the rules of the game, and to also be DBS checked because we were working with children. For the delivery, I would complete a UK Athletic Level 1 athletics coach 3-day training course for £420 to give me the qualification and the confidence to be able to deliver my session effectively, with the right training and making sure that all the techniques are right. Gives me more of a range of things that I could do. The only threats it could be is that money, of course, and because it costs over £400, so finding the money could be difficult, but that's one of the threats. Or finding a club who needs an officiator or needs a volunteer, because they might not need one and have my planning effectively practiced. Having enough time to do the courses, because they're not very common, and they only come around probably twice a week, so I have to keep watch. Communication, rapport, and good progression and adaptation of activities. Communication, mainly because I felt I communicated well with my colleagues and also with the children, because they all felt comfortable talking to me, and I managed to get my point across without them asking too many technical questions about how to do it. I managed to answer them all in just one. My rapport was good because I was welcoming and managed to organise the group well. I wasn't firm, or I was firm enough, but I wasn't too bossy or too strong with them, but they understood what I needed them to do, and when they didn't behave properly, then I told them, then I dealt with it at the time. And good progression and adaptation, because we progressed as the sessions went on, as the activities went on, so we managed to reduce tedium and increase motivation, because they wanted to keep going because everything was changing. It wasn't changing constantly, but each session was different, so they kept up and they managed to have fun. So that was the main aim. So for my first area for improvement and my development plan, time control was the main problem, because we finished early and we didn't have enough activities to fit the time. So to make sure that setting a target for next time, a SMART target, specific, to make sure that the exact length of the activity was correct. So testing to make sure, so it wasn't just briefly guessed, it was worked out, and made sure that worked out that each person had gone through and timed how long that would be, and then even though it would be rough, it would still be more correct if I'd done that. Measurable, so timing each activity before the session, So doing a walkthrough with my colleague or a group of us to work out the timings of the session, and then so we could keep to it, and then to be able to keep to the time slot of 30 minutes for achievable, and timing to make sure that there was enough planning the session, so we had enough time to plan the session throughout the week before or the 2 weeks before. For the development plan, if these things were improved or if the time control of the session will be improved, it would help the participants, and it would also help me because it means I'd be less stressed and less worried about running out of time or not having enough time, and it also mean the children would enjoy it more because they're not standing around. This could be helped by to observe athletics coaches or be an officiator, and then review how they do it, how they manage times, and it will help reduce tedium or the lack of control, because if the children aren't doing anything and I'm thinking of what to do next, I've got that split second of not having control of the children because there's nothing left to do. So yeah. So for my second area for improvement, be the control of the group, making sure that they're listening and behaving. Measurable, to make sure that I have everyone's attention for the whole 30 minutes, that they're not distracted, and if they are distracted then they need to be split up, especially if they're with each other. And then therefore to make sure that no disciplinary action needs to be taken, because it isn't enjoyable for the other children if that has to happen, because one would have to sit out and then it wouldn't be fair. So as long as they all behave, then it should be okay. To have everyone behave well for 30 minutes realistically, because that is a realistic target, and I feel that could be helped. Time, so after I've done the level 1 coaching course, it should take me then 3 weeks to get back on track. The coaching course takes 3 weeks, so after that then would help me get back on track to improve my area of improvement and then get back to coaching again. So for the development plan, if I improved it, it would help the participants and me again, because it would mean that they're not bored through any part of it, and I'm not stressed out because I haven't controlled the group. Because if they lose control, then they'll just run free. How it will help to take part in a level 1 coaching course, so not just athletics but for a coaching course, to gain coaching skills and coaching management, to make sure that I have that control of the group all the time. It will help to reduce, it will make the session flow better if I can control the group and improve communication within the group. So if I've controlled them, then they'll listen to me and they'll listen to each other, which is the main aim of the session. So they should listen to each other. So the third area for improvement is the range of activities. So to make sure that there is enough activities to do specifically, measurable, to have more than just one type of activity plan so we had different activities but for the same sport. So if we changed up and just had it for two athletics events, to keep to the timing, and then it should be successful for achievable. So if you keep to the timing and the range of activities fit in the timing, then it should be okay. Realistic, to make sure that I don't put too many types in, so I don't try and cram everything into one session, because that just wouldn't work. And timing to do this by 2 weeks, so that I'm ready for another session straight after I've observed athletics coaches to see how much of a range they can have and record them, so I can adapt it and review it and make use of it. It will help improve the participants, and it will help reduce tedium and lack of motivation for the activities, because they're not fun if they're boring or they're the same thing all the time. So as long as they're making them think. So that is my review, my 16.3 review. Thank you.